in this way. They can bind in this way. So that means they can use HTML when you are binding with HTML property. Another important problem is style is used when binding to CSS. Binding to CSS into style property, you can do that. Into the style property, it can configure that into the style property. Another point is, so URL is used for URL properties, URL properties. So you can say such as anchor, href. There again, a URL is used for URL properties. And one more problem you will come across is source URL is a URL. Resource URL is a URL. So that means that will be loaded. That will be loaded. That will be loaded. And code executed. That means you can even keep the script src is also can be injected with the attacks. These are all the various ways how the cross-site scripting attacks will happen actually. So in many interviews, they ask like, what is cross-site scripting attack? What is cross-site scripting attack? And so where this scripting attack, how these scripting attacks will happen? How these scripting attacks will happen, right? And very important is how do we handle them? How we can internally handle them? What is the option required to internally handle them, right? So for that, what are the concepts we need to use? Actually, that requires sanitization to handle these kind of situations. Sanitization for handling this kind of situations. This is what actually the security for Angular application. So that means Angular recognizes these all concepts as unsafe, and it will block them. It will block them. It will not allow to handle them. And for that, to implement that security, usually we have to use this concept of working with sanitizers. So how this works means how we can use the sanitizer to implement that, right? Let's see. So that means how we can manage that to handle this situation. Actually, Angular security means this. Application security is about authentication and authorization. So let's take a look here. Now, one simple example here. Yeah. One simple example here, just let's add one file here. So integrated terminal in this Amazon, right? So these are the projects we are having. Okay, fine. So here we are configuring ng generate component and a security demo. So skip test. Okay. So here we are configuring some content and we are defining some content in this. Right. taking a while, right? Yeah. So let's keep this security demo in the startup here for that, right? Security demo. Okay. Let's keep this in the startup. Security demo. Right. Fine. Okay. Now let's run this. Is equal to Amazon. Fine. Now in this security demo, what I'm doing is I'm configuring in the TypeScript here. In the TypeScript, we are configuring some options. So we are defining something. So suppose I'm creating a simple property. So public and height defined some MSG. So is equal to or simply like my code is equal to, and here I'm defining so some template. So here we are adding some string actually, and this string is actually, so suppose I defined a template and I'm writing a script here and I close the script. This is just a string representation, and here we are saying alert, and here we are configuring some content inside this, and here I'm writing as XSS attacks, right, or cross site attack something message we have configured there. That is the basic thing we have defined, and we are using, that is the template. In between some script is used and some HTML is used. So, and I defined some HTML. This is template syntax. That is how we are configuring some data into it. That means you created a text box or you created some properties, some controls from where user can submit the data, from where user can post the data. That means now you configured the data in this way. Now we are using this data in the HTML. So that means I'm using in HTML. In HTML, so while we are presenting that information, that means, so we say sanitization, right? So I will just say cross-site attacks security, okay, something. And here we are configuring so some value. So I am writing here that value. That means like my code. I am configuring that my code in a paragraph here. Directly we are using an interpolation technique. And we are configuring, instead of interpolation, I am using another paragraph here. I am defining in this paragraph, I am using a property inner HTML. And through the inner HTML, I am applying this my code. That means we are accessing that inner HTML and we are defining that my code here. That means one, through interpolation, you are configuring that, and through property binding, you are defining it. Now here, then we are dealing with that. Usually when you are configuring this. Now you can see here the DOM manipulations. So you can see when I run this, when the compilation is finished. Yeah.